In the late 1940s, on a frigid morning in Coventry, the factory floor sparked back to life. Steel resonated against steel, and the air conveyed a silent feeling of urgency. Britain was still rebuilding from the carnage of war, its cities scarred and its economy weak. Yet here, within the Standard Motor Company's plant, something new was taking shape. An automobile, modest in appearance, rolled slowly off the production line. It wasn't designed to dazzle. It wasn't built to dominate racetracks. And yet, in ways few would ever realize, this car would play a small but important role in reconstructing a nation. This was the Standard Vanguard, and its narrative is significantly more crucial than history frequently remembers it to be. In the years immediately following the Second World War, Britain confronted a terrible situation. The country was plagued with debt, resources were few, and rationing remained a part of daily life. The government provided a clear order to manufacturers: export as much as possible or face collapse. Foreign currency was necessary for survival, and enterprises were expected to contribute. For car makers, this meant building vehicles that could appeal not only to British buyers but also to customers across the globe. Before the war, British automobiles had primarily been conservative in design and limited in worldwide appeal. But the world had changed. American automobiles, with their modern appearance and greater size, had begun to impact global tastes. British manufacturers could no longer afford to stay isolated. They needed something new, something modern, reliable, and exportable. It was in this context that the Standard Vanguard was created. Introduced in 1947 and commencing production shortly after, the Vanguard was planned from the ground up as a global car. Its very name indicated forward mobility, a sense of progress amid uncertain times. Unlike many pre-war designs that simply improved older models, the Vanguard constituted a clean break. It was a statement that British engineering could adapt, modernize, and compete on the world stage. Visually, the Vanguard is distinguished from its predecessors. Its rounded body, integrated fenders, and broad stance exhibited unmistakable American influence, particularly from automobiles like the Plymouths of the era. This was no coincidence. Designers knew that international markets, especially in locations like Australia and North America, required a specific modern aesthetic. The Vanguard gave that look, but in a more compact and practical design suited to British engineering standards. Beneath the body, the car was constructed with simplicity and longevity in mind. It featured a strong four-cylinder engine that valued durability over raw performance. The engineering strategy was straightforward: construct an automobile that could tolerate terrible road conditions, variable maintenance, and vast distances. This made it particularly well suited for export markets where infrastructure varied greatly. Driving the Vanguard was a totally different sensation compared to older British saloons. The ride was gentler, the cabin more spacious, and the overall vibe more modern. It wasn't a car that fostered spirited driving, but it delivered something possibly more important: confidence. Owners could count on it. It started in the morning, carried families through the day, and weathered situations that may strain more sensitive machinery. But the essential significance of the Vanguard resided not in its design alone, but in where it went. A high percentage of production was targeted for export. Ships brought these automobiles to faraway markets, from the sandy roads of Africa to the vast highways of Australia and the burgeoning cities of India. Each exported Vanguard meant something more than a transaction. It was a contribution to Britain's economic revival, bringing in the foreign currency that the country so sorely needed. Back home, the Vanguard also found its place in ordinary life. It became a regular sight on British roadways, used as taxis, family cars, and even official vehicles. It wasn't considered a luxury item, nor was it particularly aspirational. Instead, it was practical and dependable, a car for individuals rebuilding their lives after years of struggle. Families relied on it for school runs, weekend outings, and long journeys across a country slowly returning to normal. For many, the Vanguard was more than transportation. It was a symbol of stability, a message that life was moving forward again. Its roomy interior and easy mechanics made it accessible not just to own but also to understand and maintain. Yet, like many cars created of necessity, the Vanguard possessed its limits. While its design was current at launch, the speed of automotive advancement in the late 1940s and early 1950s was tremendous. Competitors began to emerge with more refined style, superior comfort, and advanced engineering. Cars from manufacturers like Morris and Ford started to challenge the Vanguard status, offering alternatives that felt fresher and more sophisticated. There were also underlying tensions within the industry itself. Manufacturers were continually juggling cost, innovation, and production demands. For the Standard Motor Company, maintaining competitiveness required continuous improvements. The Vanguard progressed through numerous phases, each seeking to address increasing expectations. However, these upgrades could only go so far. The core design, long as strength, soon began to betray its age. Despite these hurdles, the Vanguard proved its effectiveness in quieter, more enduring ways. One of its defining moments came not through racing glory or sensational headlines, but through sheer endurance. In long-distance reliability tests and everyday use throughout tough settings, the automobile displayed extraordinary resilience. It became noted for its ability to withstand where others might falter, establishing its reputation as a dependable workhorse. These attributes connected powerfully with the people who owned it. Mechanics appreciated its simplicity, drivers loved its predictability, and families trusted it with their daily life. In many ways, the Vanguard exemplified a certain philosophy of engineering, one that stressed function over form and durability above innovation. However, as the 1950s progressed, the automobile scene continued to alter. Consumer expectations evolved toward greater comfort, more modern style, and improved performance. The post-war austerity that had shaped the Vanguard's development began to recede, replaced by a growing sense of optimism and consumer choice. Cars were no longer only means for recuperation. They were becoming statements of personal identity and aspiration. In this new climate, the Vanguard fought to preserve its relevance. Newer models from Standard itself, as well as competitors, began to take its place. Production eventually came to a close, not with a dramatic ending, but with a calm transition. The car that had once been at the vanguard of Britain's comeback just faded into the background. Over time, many Vanguards disappeared from the roads altogether. Exposure to harsh weather, poor corrosion prevention, and the natural cycle of wear and tear took their toll. As newer automobiles replaced them, the Vanguard became less apparent, and its narrative gradually disappeared from public memory. Today, the Standard Vanguard has a unique place in automotive history. It is not generally celebrated, nor is it regularly featured among the most iconic old automobiles. Yet its influence is evident. It represents a moment when engineering served a bigger purpose, when cars were made not simply to sell but to promote a nation's recovery. For those who remember seeing one on the roads, or perhaps riding in one as a child, the Vanguard has a calm nostalgia. It evokes a time when life was simpler, when cars were understood as much by their owners as by their makers, and when reliability was treasured above all else. In the end, the narrative of the Standard Vanguard is not about speed, luxury, or celebrity. It is about resilience, practicality, and quiet importance. It is a reminder that some of the most meaningful technologies are not the ones that catch headlines, but the ones that save diligently in the background, affecting lives in ways that are easy to overlook. And perhaps it is why the Vanguard still matters today. Because in remembering it, we remember a period of skill and purpose, when engineering was motivated by necessity and driven by community effort to rebuild. If you find value in articles like this, pieces that explore the secret chapters of automotive history, consider subscribing. Not for the spectacle, but for the preservation of these quiet legacies that continue to affect how we understand the automobiles of the past.